Normally it is the SFA that is dishing out warnings, but Rangers have turned things around after a 3k fine was imposed on the club. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football, and it is now Rangers Football Club that is warning the SFA, saying that the SFA will be watched closely after the club was fined £3,000 for the whole corruption remark made by former player John Brown on the club's media. So the SFA did come out, they said that they were investigating the whole corruption remark, which, I mean, I guess I understand they kind of have to do it. They've done it in the past when certain managers have come out things and they haven't liked what they said. Sometimes it results in a match ban. I guess at the time John Brown was told you can't say that, and he went and doubled down and he said it anyway. Now, I think we can all agree that probably was a Rangers goal. Now, I have not seen the goal line technology of the incident, but the ball did sure as hell look over to me. John Brown thought it was over. He said it was corruption. Obviously not happy that Rangers didn't get the decision, which they probably should have got. However, the SFA, they didn't like it. They said that they were going to investigate, and they came to a conclusion that the club was to receive a £3,000 fine. So, no real punishment on John Brown, but the club itself, Rangers, got a £3,000 fine, which is not massive. You know, it's for Rangers, I mean, not really for any club in Scotland. Let's be honest, £3,000. No one's really going to see that. You know, for any team in Scotland, it's like a good player's 1 week's wage, isn't it, really? But for Celtic and Rangers, I mean, that's like not even a squad player's wage. You know, it's a small amount. So I don't really think that Rangers are too bothered about the £3,000, but I think they're bothered about the fact that they were fined and that there was some punishment for the remarks, and the Rangers have now fired back. The Ibrox club have said they firmly deny any breach of Scottish FA rules, and now they've gave a warning to the Scottish FA saying that they will be watching closely to make sure that the Scottish FA are going to impose the same sort of punishment and the same sort of fines if other clubs do something similar to what Rangers have done. So, after being found guilty in breach of SFA Disciplinary Rule 38, Rangers have come out and said the following, quote, "If this is now the standard, they will be watched closely to ensure it is applied across the board consistently, without exception and without favour." End of quote. So Rangers basically saying, right, well, if you're gonna fine us for this corruption remark, we're going to be looking at other situations from other clubs, from players or pundits from other clubs, and if they say something that we consider, similar to what Brown done, then we're expecting you to, come down with the same sort of law and the same sort of punishment. And I think that Rangers are right to do that. And Rangers explained that they had flagged numerous examples of similar incidents on other club channels as part of their defence. So Rangers here obviously believing that they've been hard done by here, that this is unfair, and that they have showed other examples of times in the past when there's been similar incidents to what John Brown has said, but they have not resulted in a fine or resulted in any form of punishment. So Rangers want to make sure that in the future, this doesn't happen and that they're treated fairly like other clubs in the league. So Rangers released a statement after the fine saying, quote, "These incidents raise legitimate questions about Scottish FA rules and how consistently they are enforced. To our knowledge, none of these cases appear to have resulted in charges against the respective clubs. The lack of consistency with the Scottish FA's policing of similar incidents leaves more questions than answers. That is why we will be contacting the Scottish FA Chief Executive and President to seek clarity on what policies and processes the compliance officer has in place, if any, to ensure a consistent and proportionate approach to enforcement and the equal treatment of member clubs. We shall also be asking the Scottish FA whether they accept that a rule that cannot be applied consistently across all clubs and all platforms risks losing credibility as a fair and enforceable regulation." End of quote. So Rangers are making it clear that they are putting the Scottish FA on notice, and they're not taking this lying down. I know it was a small fine, and you thought maybe they would just move on, but Rangers here making it clear that they're not happy about it, and they are going to hold the Scottish FA accountable in the future. If similar offences like this go unpunished by other clubs. And Rangers have also demanded the introduction of goal line technology. Included in the statement was the following, quote, "John Brown spoke emotionally and spontaneously as someone who cares deeply about the club. His words were not scripted, and they were not an official club comment. The ruling, however, sets a precedent where even spontaneous, corrected remarks made during live coverage of a clear refereeing error are enough to trigger a formal sanction. That is neither proportionate nor consistent, especially when other clubs have made stronger comments on official platforms without consequence. To be clear, when we reference these other examples, not to suggest they should have resulted in sanctions, but to highlight the clear inconsistency in how similar incidents have been handled. Club media channels are, by nature, passionate and partisan. Informal, tongue-in-cheek and emotional commentary comes with the territory, especially in live settings. But in choosing to pursue this case, the Scottish FA has opened the door to closer scrutiny of how similar situations are handled going forward." End of quote. Now, the SFA declined to comment when approached by BBC Scotland, so they've decided not to reply to this statement from Rangers. But yeah, in the statement itself, interesting to see Rangers say that there has been stronger comments made on official platforms from other clubs in the country that didn't result in any sort of consequences. So they believe that there has been worse said that went unpunished. I'd like to see some examples of them. Again, not saying they don't exist, but it would actually be good to pinpoint one of them, and then we could maybe compare it to the whole corruption remark by John Brown. Because, look, we have seen with managers that if you criticise the referee or if you accuse them of anything that resembles any sort of cheating, then the likelihood is you are going to get some form of punishment, whether it be a suspension or something like that, a fine. And I think when you do use the word corruption, you are implying that there is some form of cheating going on. So yeah, I'm not surprised that John Brown was fined, but at the same time, it's like, it was a really bad decision as well. Now, I've not seen the goal. I don't think I need to see the goal. I mean, it looks like it's clearly over the line. It looks like it's clearly over the line. So I think John Brown's entitled to be, outraged by that decision not to give it. Whether or not he was correct in using the term corrupt, I mean, that remains to be seen. Well, obviously he wasn't right because the SFA have decided that he was fined, but Rangers don't agree with the fine. So Rangers here saying that he shouldn't have been fined and it was unfair. And now they're going to be keeping a close eye on the SFA to make sure that if something similar happens, that they are also punishing other clubs and other employees at clubs that make comments like this. So yeah, interesting to see Rangers fire out a warning to the SFA. Anyway, guys, that is it. Let us know your thoughts down below. Is this a fair punishment? £3,000. It's not a lot of money, but for Rangers, I think it's more the principle. I don't think they believe that there should have been any punishment for this, and they don't really believe that John Brown... I don't even think it's a case of they don't believe that John Brown has done anything wrong. They just don't think that John Brown has said anything that hasn't been said before on other club channels that resulted in no consequence. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.